Okay. Start. Alright. We're back. I don't know how to intro this, but it's 2022. And I'm wearing a mask because reasons.
It's not like we got monetized. I don't know why you're trying to hide it.
I don't know either. Anyway, new year, new content, I guess.
So, update on the pandemic. Because I'm just not gonna pussyfoot around this shit.
Yeah.
Logan and his dad have contracted COVID before.
Yeah, but thankfully we don't have it anymore, which is a huge sigh of relief. That was actual hell.
So did my baby sister Michaela and my brother Kevin, I think.
You think?
Pretty sure he did, yeah. He still went ahead and got a booster after that, even though he didn't need to since he was, immunized.
But
and me and my mom have gotten boosters. Like before they contracted that, and my sister is getting a booster today because she didn't contract it somehow, mostly by avoiding all of us.
Well, she was lucky. Somehow. Okay.
And it's a miracle that my dad didn't contract it since he has no vaccines.
That's good to hear.
And he's the oldest member, so he's easily the most at risk.
True. Somehow me and my dad got it. My sister did not, so she was just stuck caring for us during that time.
General life update. My life was fairly annoying for about 2 weeks or so because my bathroom had to be renovated because it was fucked.
Huh.
So they tore most of it down and then replaced all of it.
Yeah. Told me about this right before we started.
And today I found out what it's like to take a freezing cold shower in a freezing cold day. It's hell. I felt like I was about to die.
Yeah.
Like, it was legitimately hurting my head to get hit by that water most of the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I'm sick tomorrow.
Well, that'll be fun. No, it won't.
I'm lucky I take online classes.
I'm lucky I don't go to school.
Yeah. College update. I've decided to change what I'm doing. Originally, for the longest time, I was a computer science major before I decided I kind of didn't want to do that anymore since I found out I really wasn't, up for it.
Yeah.
And I kind of just went around not knowing what to do for a bit and even took a break for an entire semester. But now I'm back in college. And I have decided to become an animator.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, 3D animation and video game art.
Damn.
So, hopefully, I do well in that.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if I don't get it into the industry, I'm probably going to be making weird porn shit.
I was about to say something related to porn.
That's literally the only two options you get in this industry. Either you get into a major company, like a video game company, or like just a animation company,
or
you get into porn shit and just sell your shit on the internet. Or you become there's the third option. You become the creator who decides to make his own work. But more often than not, you do porn shit on the side just to make ends meet. That's literally how a lot of animators, independent animators, get by.
I see how it is.
Same with a lot of independent comic artists.
Huh.
Have you ever heard of the anime, Don't Tease Me Nakatoto-san?
Yes, I have, actually.
Yeah. That was created by a doujin artist.
Oh, okay.
But, funnily enough about that guy, he made some of the most horrible shit out there for a while.
Huh.
But I mean, bestiality, rape, all that stuff. Yeah, terrible stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah, and you want to know, you want to know the only reason he stopped doing that.
Why?
His shit became canon.
Oh.
That's not even a joke. He literally shifted formulas from all that horrible shit to more lighthearted stuff after Naruto and Hinata got together in Naruto Shippuden.
God. What the fuck?
Apparently, ships can actually influence people.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did.
Whoops. So other stuff. For context, today is January 30th. So stuff that's happened in news recently. Microsoft is buying out Activision Blizzard for $70 billion.
That's an Activision Blizzard is a terrible company, and I hope they burn in hell.
Well, apparently they're gonna kick out their CEO once the deal goes through.
Yeah, everyone saw that coming.
Yeah.
No way in hell Microsoft is keeping them around. They actually have a reputation.
Thank God. I mean, Activision wasn't going to float on its own, but so Microsoft was like, "Hey, can we buy you?" They were like, "Yeah."
Speaking of Activision Blizzard, apparently one of my brother's friends tried to convince another one of my brother's friends to buy Overwatch.
Oh no.
To play it again. And my brother spent a good chunk of the night basically trying to convince him to not buy Overwatch.
Don't. It's not worth it.
He literally called himself the angel in comparison to the other guy's devil.
Overwatch is a dead game.
Yeah, and you want to know what the only reason that he pulled through?
What?
His in the middle of their in the middle of the whole conversation, right?
Yeah.
The guy they were trying to convince his mom walked in and got on their case for spending so much money because of the fact that my brother and the other two guys had gone to Fremont to hang out earlier that day.
Yeah.
And they'd spent a ton of money. So it was a literal case of intervention by mother that stopped him from making probably the worst mistake of his life.
Good. Thank God. What else has happened? Pokemon Legends Arceus came out, which is a game I do not really care for.
He doesn't care for it because he doesn't care for Pokemon and he doesn't care for Breath of the Wild, so this game is literally not meant for him.
Yes.
His sister might like it, though.
Maybe.
I'll say this, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. And this is the one game that really makes me feel like trying to capture most, if not all. Because I'm not really the type of guy to try and catch them all. I've always been more centered around actually just playing with the Pokemon that I capture.
Yeah.
I never really went out of my way to try and capture more than 20 Pokemon per game.
Yeah. Makes sense. I just capture what I felt like when I played Pokemon back in my day when it was good.
Although my brother Kevin has gone on record to say that this is probably his favorite Pokemon game.
I said this in the chart, right? That's a bold statement.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm pretty sure his favorite games before that were Diamond and Pearl, so...
Oh.
Platinum, too.
So, no expectations then.
No, basically, he already had a love for this region.
Ah, I see.
So learning more about the history of Sinnoh is basically just something that he's really wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, Microsoft bought Activision.
Also, he finally found out how big a Yanmega is. 6'03". That is one giant dragonfly.
Damn. But is it bigger than?
It's bigger than me.
Oh, wow. Or a fucking dragonfly.
Well, it's based off some of the more ancient dragonflies.
Ah. Then that makes sense. Both of us saw Spider-Man No Way Home opening night with other people.
Yeah, including Kevin.
Including Kevin and Jonathan. Jonathan's back in Arizona now, so... Good riddance.
Camden was there.
Camden was there. That was a movie. I could have gone deaf by how loud everyone was screaming.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest here. I was one of those people screaming. I love that movie.
I mean, everyone's seen it by now, so is it fine that we talked about spoilers?
I guess.
Okay.
The movie's been out since the 16th. It's been a full month.
It's the 6th highest grossing movie ever. So
And it's like the second highest grossing MCU movie, I think.
yeah. No, the second highest is Infinity War.
Oh.
I think it's actually the third. I'm not sure, but
It's up there with the Endgame stuff.
it's up there. So, if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, I recommend
Just get out of this video.
click off this video.
We'll probably be keeping all of the conversation about that movie into this video.
Casting. We gotta get this out of the way. Okay. Injured Elf.
You got Mekon in there or not?
I think I do, actually. Yeah, there she is.
Well, who better to play an injured elf?
I don't know.
That's fucked.
Oh, the new Danganronpa came out. It's a game.
I haven't played it at all.
Yeah, we might play it today.
Cool.
Okay. After this, of course.
I kind of came here having not eaten outside, maybe 2 handfuls of Cheetos.
Okay. Fab Fairies Fan 1.
So, I might get slightly sleepy later on today.
Okay. Scaredy Cat. Afraid of outsiders and turns them all away. Hence the Elven Retreat.
Fucking xenophile. I mean, xenophobe.
Someone scared. Someone...
A total scaredy cat.
I shoved a bunch more Miis a couple days ago. Maybe a week. I don't remember. Exactly. Total scary. I'm not saying we're going to use every single one of these. I'm just saying.
Hey, did we ever talk about the second post-pandemic South Park special?
That came out on the day we saw Spider-Man. So.
Okay, so we definitely never talked about it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the first one either, at least on camera.
Okay, after the Spider-Verse stuff, we'll probably be talking about the South Park stuff after.
Yeah, because I want to talk about that.
Yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah. Scaredy Cat. Ray Heffley. Does that not make sense? Or
not really. He's more of a sociopath.
True. I shoved so many things in here, and we're back to the top.
Go back. I didn't actually get to see the bottom.
I have all these people.
Uh,
If only there was a way to randomize it. Sadly, that's not an option. Here for
people who are absolutely terrified of other people. Chihiro, maybe?
Who? Chihiro? Where? Oh, this one.
That kind of works.
Sure. Okay.
That's the best we got, really.
Green-eyed lady. Hates the Fab Fairies with a passion. Thinks she's better than all of them.
We need someone with actual green eyes on this.
I think... Oh, no, they don't. I thought they automatically changed to green once you assigned them, but... that does not appear to be the case.
I know green-eyed lady means, jealous person, but... I kind of want to throw in actual green eyes just for the joke of it all.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why does Top have green eyes? Considering how she has silver eyes, slightly silverish eyes, because it's milked over by the. Oh, it's silver. Yeah. It looked it off because of the fact that
it's small.
Yeah.
Well,
you could also throw in someone who's regularly jealous, like Mimikyu up there.
Well, we already got Mickey as a genie.
Mimikyu.
Oh, okay. Let's do that then. Mimikyu.
Because, that's literally a Pokemon that spends its entire time being jealous of Pikachu.
Lazy Bones.
In the anime. Because there's a Jessie-specific Mimikyu who hates Pikachu.
I'm sorry, but we already got Sans as a lazy soldier, so...
We need another lazy person. Wait, I thought... Weren't the ducks at the very bottom?
Ducks.
Louis.
Louis.
Perfect.
Okay. If you insist.
Guy literally, like, his entire personality is trying to be as lazy as possible for the most part.
Mischievous witch. Her magical abilities are listed exclusively to pranks.
You want to know what his dream is?
What?
Because, like, there was an entire episode of DuckTales where, like, they actually went into the kid's dreams.
Yeah.
His dream is literally just being a fat cat lazing about. That's all he dreams about.
Oh.
Yeah. You can see why he's, like, perfect lazy. Mischievous witch.
Yeah. Okay, I can't sort. Mischievous witch.
Yoko?
Kyoko? Or...
I mean, it's one letter off of mischievous...
What? What's fucking...
Heyo.
Okay, now we got Fab Fairies fan 1, or the 3 Fab Fairies fans and the Fab Fairies we actually do cast right after. So, think of people who would be over-obsessive fans of...
Anything.
Anything. Damn, how many did I shove in here? I shoved like 200 in here, like, last week. Fan. Well, we got 402 options, minus the ones we already have roles for to choose from. A lot of these are just shit posting.
Well, we've spent the entire time shit posting.
Yeah, this game is a shit post. To be fair.
Do we have roles for most of the South Park kids? We can just shove in, like, 3 of the South Park kids as this.
Okay.
I'm too lazy to, like, to be creative at this point.
Do at least 1. Let's do Clyde, because this me looks dumb.
Makes sense.
Okay. Number 2. The fans are supposed to be all boys, while the actual fairies are girls.
Yeah.
Number 2. We could do them all South Park kids.
Just do it out of laziness, let's be honest here.
Okay. Roy Koopa. And I'm just gonna randomly pick one. Eric Andre.
That's probably the biggest shitpost we've had so far.
Alright. Wow.
Okay, I guess we can go back to Time Let's Spider-Verse.
Well, we're about to cast the 3 fairy sisters
we should probably wait for that, yeah.
relatively soon. But at least we have our champions to protect us. Wow, imagine casting something just to cast some more things.
Couldn't these have been on the same screen, you assholes?
No, it's all about plot convenience. You see, in the 3DS version, the townspeople were generated randomly off the spot pass. The Switch version, you have to manually pick them all by hand.
Assholes, couldn't we have just, like, gone random shit?
Okay. Okay, the youngest sister makes up for her height with her bossy attitude.
Okay, let's try to actually not ship us these 3.
Yeah.
But let's actually be kind of... Junko would actually kind of work here. I just realized.
Junko!
Because she's the younger sister and she's a total, like, egomaniac.
Yeah, and we have Mutro on the party.
Yeah.
Well, we had. She's gone. Do we have a Junko? Me? Ah, shit.
How is it that you managed to put in so many Danganronpa characters, and yet you never put in Junko and Ashimobal characters?
I don't fucking know, okay?
I know she's kind of the worst!
Don't worry, with the power of access keys, I can, find it. If I
remember it correctly.
If there's this, oh, there's a couple of Juntos. I'm just gonna grab the first one I see. Not that one. Whichever one I actually... This one. Okay. Thankfully, there's a website called Miitopia, which has a bunch of Miis available for looking and an access key where you can download them to your own game. So shout out to the creator of this access code, and that's who they cast it as, the Youngest Fab Fairy. Junto. Somehow I can't find her. If there was a way... No,
there it is.
Mind. Got her. I like how it still has little things on the top. The middle sister has a shy streak, but is very sweet when she opens up.
Do we have like a Hinata or something? So, what characters are actually shy among this list?
That is a very good question. Shy. My instinct tells me one of these Animal Crossing characters.
I remember how they all are. LaBelle is pretty much like is confident in herself. Mabel is basically Sonic but girl. And Sable is just done. She's the eldest for a reason. Raven, maybe?
Raven? Where is this one?
That could technically work just on the basis that like she has to close herself in on like emotions.
True.
What's the description for this one?
Oh, Ellis is the fairy. She commands her siblings with an air of grace.
Okay, we need to get someone who very much like
commander. We could do Mabel. It could be kind of funny if she leads around Junto and Ashima. But
let's continue on looking.
Okay.
Why is it that my first instinct was jumped to like the very bottom and say like one of the Adventure Time girls that you had down there?
I guess one of them could work.
Because like good chunk of these are like princesses.
Yeah, but which one?
Who has an air of confidence? Let's be honest here, it's Bubblegum since she's probably like one of if not the oldest of them.
True.
And Marceline doesn't really have the idea of like being a leader. She's just kind of being herself.
Okay. Please, Lady Bubble. Dead.
Also, I'm using her as an excuse that these three fab ladies ever just fuck up. Because she has a bad habit of fucking up.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, welcome to the Elven Retreat. I forgot that casting choices already.
Okay, let's just ignore the rest of the game now. Time about Spider-Verse.
Alright, Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Verse 2 is coming out this year, and it's so big, they split it into 2 parts. How epic.
Now let's talk about live-action Spider-Verse, because that's basically what No Way Home was.
Time for No Way Home spoilers. 3, 2, 1. The entire theater screamed when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showed up.
Andrew Garfield kind of stole the show, in my opinion.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a big fan of the film.
Like, in general, in general, the movie was a ton of fun.
Yeah. Daredevil was there.
Willem Dafoe.
I'm something of a scientist myself. They actually said that line.
They knew what they were doing.
That movie is just fan service done right.
It's literally like 98% fan service.
Oh no, Eric Andre sent me for Junto and Ashima.
He would just for the meme.
True. Yeah.
For
any of those Key Knight fans that noticed, all 5 of the villains were from the 5 different pre-MCU Spider-Man movies.
Technically, this was a Sinister Six, if you ignore the fact that Venom didn't do shit.
I mean, he was in the post-credit scene.
I mean, you could still count as a Sinister Six if you consider number 6 to be J. Jonah Jameson. Considering how much that guy fucks up Peter's life.
True. What the Dark Lord? Oh, weird.
But in general, yeah, the movie was
it's a blast.
Like, I guess we could talk about the actual story now.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, just how we felt about everything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be honest here. The movie can basically be labeled into 3 different films.
Yeah. Dark Lord.
Like, the first half is the first, like, part of it is quite literally the aftermath of Far From Home.
Yeah.
It's literally just the ending sequence extended on to, like, 20 to 30 minutes.
I mean, that's why man's piece together.
Especially since it literally takes place after the post-credit sequence where, like, Peter Parker's identity is revealed. It's like, what the fuck?
They didn't say fuck. Well, they can, but it's PG-13. You can say 1 fuck, maybe 2.
And, basically, Peter's life comes unraveled. What have we done?
Yeah, the Fat Fairies temporarily join your party for this.
Okay, it's just temporary?
It's just temporary.
I don't trust Kuko, that's why. Anyways, getting back to the story stuff. Peter's life gets kind of fucked up by the fact that, well, really, it's
everyone knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like in general, the population is split into like 3 types of people. The people who don't really who seemingly have like no opinion on any of this stuff, on any of the mysterious stuff, but are rather just like fascinated at the idea that Spider-Man is just this one person and just kind of crowd around him trying to take photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The people who hate him and view him as a villain and like a murderer and want him locked up, and the people who view him as a hero.
Yeah.
Who like support him, but are also getting in the way by the fact that they don't leave him alone either.
Yeah. And then he tries to get
downright to the fact that like there was Hannibal Buress's character. Like, it's straight up a conspiracy theorist who legitimately believes in Mysterio and tells him to his face, like tells him to his face, like, I believe you're a murderer.
I mean,
that guy's his gym teacher too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then he tries to get Doctor Strange to erase it.
No. You still have to bring up the other part. This is also the character's final year in high school.
Yeah.
And what had been happening was that they were trying to get into college.
I feel safe with Junko around, says Daphne.
But, like, the issue with getting into college while you're a very controversial figure who, like, even though has been found not guilty of murder, was still on trial for murder, is that no one trusts you at all.
True.
And so, every single one of the choices that he made for college, along with his friends, all said no to them explicitly because of the fact that either he's Spider-Man or they're associated with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So,
looks like this new party member looking for adventure.
Peter does what he thinks is the right idea to do. I think it's my turn to select.
It is your turn, indeed. Let's start from the bottom, because So the roles we have left are the princess and the flower. Or classes, I should say.
Kind of just looking at all of them and I'll tell you which one
Okay. these are ones that already have rules.
Honestly, I struggle to look at them because of how fast you usually go.
Okay.
I'll go with Dawn just for the Legends Arceus meme.
Dawn, okay.
Then the fact that she's managed to somehow overtake Misty for the amount of reappearances she's had in the Pokemon anime at this point. Not by episode, but by times she's gone and come back.
Yeah.
That's not even a joke. She's kind.
Yeah. Kind, okay. Well, we don't have an energetic or laid back personality type yet, so.
I mean, do you want to go back and make her energetic?
We could.
She is energetic enough to decide on a whim that anytime Ash is up to the gym leader, Ash is up to fight a gym leader, she'll wear a cheerleader outfit to cheer him on. So,
okay, we got princess or flower.
I'll go with princess since she's a coordinator.
Okay. Well, you fulfilled your one line you said about having a Pokemon trainer in each team.
Wait, did I actually say that?
You did say that, right after you cast Cynthia.
Huh.
I've noticed, all the choices you've done are from Japanese owned IPs, and all the ones I've done are from Western owned IPs.
I mean, that's a good way to dichotomize shit.
Alright. One more left after this.
Anyways. Getting back to Spider-Man stuff. Where did I leave off? MIT. Yeah, they're rejected from all their choices in college. So, he decides to do what he thinks is the best idea. Go to Doctor Strange and have him erase everyone's memory of the fact that Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Then he fucks up, because he really should have just told Strange in advance who he wanted to keep in know. Right? So it was constantly changing the spell. Yeah. Or, done the intelligent thing and basically revealed to his friends and family he's Spider-Man after the fact. By saying, hey, I recently did something to make everyone forget who I am, so here, this is who I am. Instead of fucking this up so badly that it causes a rift in space-time and opens the multiverse to the...
Yeah, that's going to play an important point in Doctor Strange 2, which comes out in May.
Yeah.
But
when it seems that they have for the most part managed to contain the spell.
Well,
Strange basically basically confronts him on the fact that he got in the way on this entire incident, and then as it turns out, he finds out Peter didn't even bother trying to ask the college if they can reconsider.
Yeah.
And that Peter didn't realize that the possibility.
Oh my god.
Which leads to Strange just kicking him out of the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Huh.
On the case of, you really should have just tried the regular way first.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fucking shift reality to make sure that everyone forgets who you are.
I mean, you're either smart or you're dumb.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest cases of smartest idiot I've ever met.
Yeah.
And from there, he as he now knows that he can actually talk to people to say, talk to the colleges to say if he can reconsider, tries to get into contact with the person in charge over at MIT for who gets in.
Yeah. But
which leads to him encountering the first multiversal villain.
Oh shit, there wasn't. Yeah, that turns out to be Doc Ock from this 2004 Spider-Man 2.
It's literally the same person.
Yeah, with the original actor even reprising their role.
I'll say this: what they call it again? The friggin'
the
digital, like, de-aging has
Digital-
gotten better,
Yeah.
like, significantly. He actually kind of looks like he did back in 2004.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at something like Road 1, which I think was one of the first ones to do digital de-aging, at least in modern times,
It was awful.
it looked uncanny. But
At this point, it's gone to the point where you're all like especially if you have like bad eyesight, you struggle to tell that it's digital at all.
yeah,
So that's gotten significantly better,
yeah.
which is good because they do it on like 2 different people.
Oh no, I don't want to view a replay. There we go.
And from here, like he fights Doc Ock, and gets him to the point where like Doc Ock just like has him cornered, and slams his tentacle on like Peter's chest,
Yeah.
which leads to the Stark nanotech invading Doc Ock's tentacles and taking control of it. But also reveals like who he is under the mask, with Doc Ock realizing he's not the Peter Parker he knows.
Yeah. I also want to point out. Okay, so we saw this on Jonathan's birthday. He bought the tickets for all of us. He was literally the last one to show up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And from there, Peter takes control of Doc Ock, like disabling him from doing anything,
Yeah.
but also saving the woman who he was trying to convince. And she's basically like convinced that he's the hero and not like some killer. Which leads to her saying he can get in. He just has to stay out of trouble for the next for like a while.
Yeah.
Only for she gets away. Only for her to be interrupted by the fact that Green Goblin's shown up.
Yeah.
And he throws a bomb at the two, like Spidey and Doc Ock, only for them to be rescued by Doctor Strange, who teleports them back to the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yeah.
With the revelation that he's fucked up because of the fact that he encountered the lizard and locked him up.
Yeah.
And
for those out of the loop,
lizards from Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Green Goblins from the original Spider-Man movie.
And
Eventually,
now they realize that like there's a couple of villains out here who they have to capture and send back to their own world.
Yeah.
This leads to a fight where like he encounters Jamie Foxx's Electro
From Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Gets a massive upgrade in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, I watched Amazing Spider-Man 2 when it came out in theaters, and I thought it was too blue back then. I really like the new direction they took Electro for this.
Yeah. In general, he's a much better version of Electro.
Yeah. And then there was also Sandman from Spider-Man 3.
Who was there, and he basically captures Electro and convinces Sandman to come back with him.
Yeah.
Which leads to all the villains being locked up in the same place, and
realizing that
Strange is about to send them all back. With Doc Ock, wait, before we get to this part, we should probably bring up the last villain. Green Goblin breaks his mask because one of the stipulations that he had before, to come back to this film is that he didn't have to wear the mask anymore.
Yeah.
And proves that he never needed the mask because Willem Dafoe's face is just that good.
Yeah. I will say that.
Yeah. And he gets to feast where May is staying, and shows Peter because Peter gets there at the same time that
I heard something wild.
Essentially Green Goblin kind of have a split personality disorder.
Yeah.
And one is a mostly good person, and the other is a very evil person.
One is Norman Osborn, the other is Green Goblin.
What he doesn't know is that Norman Osborn's kind of an a-hole too, but...
Well, no, he's something of a scientist. I made that joke already.
Yeah. And what happens here is, like, when he gets Green Goblin to there, is, like, Doc Ock points out, wait, you're supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
And that leads to the revelation to them. Well, I say revelation. Because unbeknownst to the Amazing Villains, this doesn't apply to them. But every single one of these villains have died. Like, they've been taken out right before they die. Like, in the circumstance.
Yeah.
Downright to, like, Doc Ock having just come from, like, right before the final battle, which leads to his death.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is that's kind of bullshit because, like, that only really applies to the Spider-Man 1 and 2 villains, and maybe the 3 one, because I'm pretty sure Sandman died, but some people claim he didn't die. It's up in the air.
Yeah.
But, like, in reality, the Amazing Villains never died. They just, like, the Lizard took advantage of this because he very much just didn't care, and honestly, Electro should have realized something was up since the Lizard didn't die and was, like, very much apprehended.
Yeah.
But Electro didn't realize that he wasn't in danger of actually dying. He thought he was, though, because of, like Doc Ock bringing up, Green Goblin is dead and all that.
But nope.
So, Strange is, like, still the idea that they should be sent back no matter what their circumstances is. Fuck them. Like, it doesn't matter. The real thing that matters is stability of the multiverse.
Yeah.
And Peter is like, no! Because he'd just been convinced by his Aunt May that, like, even though it might not feel like his problem, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that it's not his problem. He should be going out of his way to do good things because they're a good thing to do. And what happens from here is that, like, Peter, like, gets into a fight with Doctor Strange and owns him using math.
Of course.
Geometry. Like, he actually managed to figure out how the dimension... How the mirror dimension works explicitly just because he realizes that most of this is just math.
Yeah.
And he does what any smart Spider-Man would do, and beats the guy that he was working with. Because seriously, more often than not, Spider-Man will in a team up will get into at least one fight with the person he's meant to be working with.
Yeah.
And then somehow manage to win. More often than not.
Yeah.
Then he like decides that like the best way to do this is to fix them all up before sending them home. Which he takes them all to Happy's apartment because that's where Happy's been keeping a bunch of Stark tech that he really should not have been keeping.
Missing.
Yeah, like it's been missing because this is the Stark tech that was used to like make Peter's suit at the end of Far From Home.
Yeah.
It should also be noted that, like, the black and gold suit that was shown in the trailer was in reality just the Far From Home suit, but, like without, like, the overlay on top of it because of the fact that, like, it got dyed green thanks to green paint, and, it's kind of ruined.
Yeah.
This leads to, like, the montage of, like, creating things that would help them, but, like, it works with Doc Ock.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden,
he gets a massive warning from his spider sense.
Yeah.
Which has been getting stronger throughout the films, if you've noticed.
Yeah.
In the first film, it like specifically like the Civil War stuff, it never showed. In friggin' in Homecoming, there was barely any instance of it. Like you didn't even get to know if there was any actual like spider sense.
Yeah.
By Infinity War, you saw it happening, but you could tell that he didn't really understand what was going on with him. And it wasn't until Far From Home that he learned how to actually use it.
Yeah.
Hell, he barely understood what it was at all. And by this film, it's so strong that it's warning him from stuff that he doesn't even know about.
Yeah.
Like, by that I mean, it warned him that Green Goblin has taken control, and is about to do some terrible shit.
No, warned him that William Dafoe was being William Dafoe.
Yeah.
They decided to keep the cameras rolling.
This leads to Green Goblin attempting to attack Spidey. Like the revelation that he's been kind of looking in from behind the face of Norman, and then he convinces most of the villains to stop this stupid idea of trying to fix themselves. They could stay here and survive while also keeping all their powers.
Yeah.
Electro takes to this, and so does a bunch of other villains. Sandman, I don't think ever had the idea of doing this, but rather he just kind of wanted to take the box that would send them home to just straight up send them home, because his entire motivation has seemingly just been to get back home.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people didn't realize that, what was his motivation. His motivation was finding the box and sending himself home now. He just didn't care.
Yeah.
From here, a brawl goes on in this apartment complex. J. Jonah Jameson is outside because he found out that he was staying here.
Yeah.
And what happens is Peter and Green Goblin get into this huge fist fight. Where Willem Dafoe did all the stunts, by the way.
Yeah.
That was another one of his stipulations. He got to do all the stunts.
Yeah. That was fun.
And he basically just fucking boxed it, fucking wrestled the guy.
Yeah.
Downright to I think Willem Dafoe at one point fucking suplexed him, I think it was.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was and from there, the battle eventually reaches the ground floor of the apartment complex.
Yep.
Which leads to Aunt May getting caught in the crossfire.
And
because she's been trying to get away since Peter warned her to go away and run away.
Yeah.
And she'd gotten to the ground floor when they got to the ground floor. Peter decides to, but I mean not decides to attempts to save Aunt May from getting killed by friggin' Green Goblin's bomb. He succeeds from that, but as it is, she gets hit by the glider.
Yeah.
And from here is one of the sadder scenes of this movie, in which essentially his Aunt May is dying, and he can't really accept it at this moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna scan in my Advent Children Cloud Strife amiibo into this. Wow, Spartan have said no. Not all amiibos give costumes. Anyway.
Aunt May dies right then and there. But before she does, she gives him that one line that every Spider-Man fan who wasn't convinced in the MCU needed to apparently hear to convince that he's meant to be Spider-Man.
With great power
comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility. That was a joke.
Essentially, kind of cementing Aunt May as this Peter's equivalent to Uncle Ben.
Hi.
Hello. Steven.
Same person.
From here, it cuts to a news report going over what had just happened, and it's revealed that the TV watching this is actually over at Ned's house, where MJ and Ned are.
Yeah.
And they're talking about pushing the button or not, because Peter basically said MJ would push the button if shit got too far.
Yeah.
And they're debating over it, yada yada yada. Friggin' Ned, who had gotten Doctor Strange's sling ring after because Peter gave it to him, it's started to wish he could see Peter right now, to know what he'd do. And as he's waving his hands, he's actually activating the sling ring.
Yeah.
Showing that he's better at the sling ring than fucking Strange is at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, because of the fact that Strange had a significantly harder time getting it back when he was learning it. And he gets a Peter Parker.
But not their Peter Parker.
It's instead Andrew Garfield
from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And boy, the theater screamed so loud.
I did too. It was amazing. MJ gets on his case for not being Peter. They have this whole conversation. She throws a piece of bread at him and is like, "You don't have Peter's tingles." Like, I have the tingle, just not for bread.
Yeah.
Both a funny thing on the fact that in general, let's be honest here, the Spider-Sense wouldn't do something about something that mundane.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it's a callback to, I think it was Far From Home when Aunt May threw a banana at him, and like Peter didn't even bother trying to dodge because he didn't get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very much a case of everyone was excited about this moment. And like, then you see, he tries to convince them by crawling on the ceiling, and it kind of works. And Ned's grandma essentially tells him in her language to clean the cobwebs up on the roof.
Yeah.
And he does. But what happens from here is that Ned decides to try again.
But it still doesn't bring back their Peter Parker.
This time it's Tobey Maguire. But instead of Andrew Garfield, who came in wearing the Spider-Man suit, Tobey Maguire just kind of comes in as himself. And they're just wondering, did they just get some random guy from the streets? Before he reveals that he's also a Spider-Man, and specifically another Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And basically they have this whole conversation. They prove it to themselves. Peter and Peter shoot webs at each other, and basically they're still trying to figure out where they can find Peter before they suggest if he had any place that he'd come up to think, because that's what they would do.
Yeah.
And Michelle, basically, I keep on calling her Mary Jane because she's literally just Mary Jane Watson in this world. They tried denying it for the longest time. They even said that they're not the same person. But it's revealed in the beginning that her full name is Michelle Jones Watson. She's literally just this world's Mary Jane.
Yeah.
So yeah, MJ brings them up to their school roof where they would come to think and talk about the situation. And you could see Peter just fucking dead. He's just done with everything. He's of the opinion that it doesn't really matter, that they should be sent home, and if he sees Green Goblin, he's gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Before MJ and Ned reveal that there's some people here to see him, and he encounters the other Peters, and they have this heart to heart where they talk about their issues and what they've had to deal with and how similar they are to him. Before it also reveals some things about Andrew Garfield's Peter, because
Amazing Spider-Man 3 was canceled.
Yeah. So what happened was that apparently, and honestly this is the obvious thing that should have happened, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 decided to end on a high note, quotation marks. With him putting on the mask, but in reality, what had happened to him is that he never really got over Gwen's death, and kind of spiraled into a dark place, seemingly losing control of himself after a bit, and just completely giving up on the Peter Parker identity, which is why he showed up in the Spider-Man outfit, because he spends most of his time as Spider-Man nowadays. Similarly, is Tobey Maguire has managed to kind of make it work as Peter Parker, actually find compromise with Mary Jane, which honestly is impressive because of how much she kind of constantly had like a change of mind throughout the movies and shit.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that they managed to work it out at all because they were not a good couple, like just on the basis of like toxicity.
Yeah.
Like that was a couple that probably wouldn't have worked out in real life at all.
True.
So like,
Um.
that's why he came in shown as Peter Parker because he kind of actually lives his life as Peter Parker, but even though he's still Spider-Man, as he keeps the suit underneath his clothing.
Yeah.
And they basically convinced Peter that like he shouldn't give up. He should follow through with the idea of curing them all. And they basically set up to like start trying to like make cures with Amazing Spider-Man. Like Spidey straight up admitting that he kind of already knows what to do for
Lizard
because he already did that in his world.
Yeah.
And Toby like bringing up he's always thought of what would have happened had he actually attempted to heal the Green Goblin. Which leads to them like fixing all this, and throughout this entire time, like after the moment of like having the self-reflective talk on the rooftop, what they do is basically spend a good rest of the film having the like until the climax, having the three Peters interact with each other, like talk about how different their lives are and like how similar they are.
Yeah.
From like there talks about like how like Andrew Garfield is kind of the weird one for having a Gwen instead of an MJ, or talks about like how like both of the other Peters had best friends that betrayed them and like went out of their way to try and kill them. And, like with Ned going out of his way to say, "I will never try to kill you."
I mean, there was a Ned Leeds in the comics that became a villain.
Yes, the Ned Leeds in the comics was revealed at one point to be Hobgoblin, but it was explicitly because of like a bunch of bullshit that really shouldn't have happened, a bunch of executive stuff.
Yeah.
And really, the Hobgoblin should be kept to the one that the creator of the Hobgoblin always intended to be Hobgoblin, which was like Richard Kingsley, I think it was his name is.
Yeah.
Roger Kingsley. Like, and essentially, he was like initially revealed to be the Hobgoblin, but like he was meant to be the Hobgoblin the entire time. Then it's like revealed to be a red herring. Then it's revealed like a bunch of other people are Hobgoblin, including Ned Leeds. Before it's finally revealed that he is the Hobgoblin after the guy that created him came back to the book. So yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit that really should have gone through. So chances are, especially with how popular the Ned character is in the MCU and like how they kind of built up the idea that he might become a sorcerer in training, they're probably not going to go through with the idea of him being Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
But chances are, if Hobgoblin does come to exist in this world, it's almost certainly going to be through the glider left behind.
Yeah.
At the end of the film.
Yeah.
But like, so as they're like interacting and like setting us all up, they're having like their like decision making, like where to do it, where to do this. They decide to take this up to the Statue of Liberty, and they have more conversations there.
Yeah.
Including like one where like they're conversing about like how like Tobey Maguire Peter has natural web shooters, unlike everybody else.
Yeah. They're all artificial.
Like, with even them questioning how it works on his end, and like, has he ever like had a point where like he couldn't really like use it? Because like they'd always have instances of like the web shooters not working explicitly because of the fact that, you know,
artificial.
Yeah, like they'd run out of ammunition and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And he did mention that, yeah, like at one point, like he couldn't use them because of the fact that like a mental block had come up on him because of like a bunch of stuff that had happened to him.
Yeah.
And they basically like just keep on interacting, including the point where like Andrew Garfield's like is constantly like downing himself, like talking himself down explicitly because like in his eyes he's kind of the most worthless here.
Yeah.
And like they even like talk about what type of villains they've had, including like how
an alien,
including the fact that both Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire have dealt with aliens.
Not Andrew Garfield.
And Andrew Garfield like talks about how like the most out of the ordinary villain he's ever had is a Russian guy in a rhino suit.
That was like on for 3 seconds. It was Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, like, and he's like constantly on his own case, like talking about like how lame he is in comparison to the others. With Tobey Maguire having like having to tell him to stop, that he's amazing, and like basically showing that as much like as people wanted to like have them like duke it out and like try to like see who's the best Spider-Man is, at the end of the day, they were never gonna do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because really, they would do this kind of stuff. They just essentially become each other's brothers because that's what they start calling each other.
Yeah.
Then they start labeling themselves Peter 1, 2, and 3 because they kind of need to understand who needs to do what.
Yeah.
With Peter, with Tom Holland taking Peter 1 explicitly because he's the only one on this team that's actually been a part of a team. Especially
the
since
Avengers.
Like, the Avengers never existed.
In their own universe.
Yeah, like, straight to the point where, like, Andrew's like, are you in a band? That's so cool!
Yeah.
Like,
what is that?
And they have like they get to the confrontation. They kind of screwed up at first, but then they like start getting the hang of it, like, and like truly like actually started like making headway and like saving all the villains from themselves.
Yeah.
Downright to like at one point Electro having like a conversation with Andrew Garfield. Like, I'm gonna be honest here. I thought you were gonna be black. And then, like, Andrew's like, I'm so sorry.
They make a comment about, there's gotta be a black Spider-Man somewhere. Well, little do you know, there's this little thing called Miles Morales in this movie called Into the Spider-Verse.
You know, I hear a lot of people give MCU Peter shit for essentially being, in their eyes, white Miles Morales.
No.
But I'm gonna tell you this right now. Here's something a lot of people don't realize. The reason he's like, you can say that, is because Miles Morales in the original Ultimate Comics was basically just Black Peter Parker.
Yeah.
That's literally what he was for a while. Downright to the fact that, like, they spent so much time essentially making him essentially the same person, but slightly different.
You know, I read somewhere that, apparently, they were supposed to have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland cameo in Spider-Verse, but they cut that out.
They couldn't do it because of, like, Sony.
Yeah.
And, like, the reason people don't view, like, Miles Morales that way anymore is explicitly because one thing happened. Well, 2 things happened.
1.
Into the Spider-Verse.
2.
The PS4 game.
True.
It's like, specifically, by that I mean, Into the Spider-Verse reinvented Miles so in such a good way that they essentially made him a completely different character.
Yeah.
Because in Into the Spider-Verse, he stands out. He has his own personality, traits, like in things he's like enthusiastic about. He has this whole thing with art and music. It's like things that like were never an aspect of Peter Parker that like essentially Brian Michael Bendis used because like he couldn't really come up with a way to make Miles more interesting than just having him be a person of color.
Yeah.
Like that's legitimately not a joke. He basically kind of just is his literal replacement in the Ultimate Comics.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. But Miles in Into the Spider-Verse was significantly much more interesting because he was his own person.
That is true.
Literally, the whole point was that he's special because he is who he is.
Yeah.
Which was something that, like, you couldn't claim about Miles through the original Ultimate Comics. Yeah. Because, really, that wasn't his point.
Yeah. We're getting off track from No Way.
Yeah, but, like, that's why, like, people can view Peter in the MCU as white Miles Morales. because Miles Morales is all like in the Ultimate Comics was basically already just Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Which is also why you also know something about the MCU Miles. The reason it was okay for them to do this was because one, they already basically took every other aspect of the Ultimate Comics into the movies.
Yeah.
Like, by that I mean, most of the movies are actually inspired by the Ultimate Comics rather than the original, like, Stanley Ditko stuff.
Yeah.
And the Miles stuff was literally the last portions that they hadn't used. But also because Miles in the MCU is almost certainly never going to be like the comic version.
Yeah.
He is almost certainly going to be significantly much more like the version in Into the Spider-Verse, or failing that, the version in the PS4 game. You know, a Miles who is simultaneously learning from an older Peter Parker, but isn't replacing him because they're just working together.
Yeah. Why have one Spider-Man when you can have two?
Yeah, like those are the two options that they're almost certainly going to come to.
Miles Morales is,
and I can easily see this happening.
Yeah, Miles is going to make his way to the MCU inevitably.
Yeah, and by that I mean chances are he's probably going to come in at near the end of that third that new trilogy that Peter is getting.
Yeah,
like because
they're not. Tom Holland said they're not. He's not sure if they're doing a full trilogy, but at least the fourth one.
It's like this first trilogy is following him throughout his entire high school career, and just like the original high school run of the comics, well, this was a very lighthearted trilogy.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until the very end that it took a darker turn.
Yeah,
and this could be shown by the fact that what happens at the end of the final battle.
Everyone.
By that I mean, after they managed to like defeat every other villain and like save them from themselves, Green Goblin shows up and destroys the box that would have sent them all home.
No, it was just William Dafoe being William Dafoe.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And from here, like Peter, like basically throws him down into the shield at the the bottom level of like
the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, and what happens here is Peter gets up and decides to not hold back at all because he's following through that comment that he made of like how he wanted to kill him because he's actually trying to kill him.
Yeah, but then
like he straight up admitted he wanted to like when he gets to him like. That he was saving him for last because he wanted to kill him himself.
Yeah, and then Tobey Maguire steps in and stops him from doing that.
Like he was about to slam down the glider onto him, like killing him.
Yeah.
And like Tobey gets stabbed, which, as he points out, he survived because he's been stabbed before. It's been shown in the movies he survived stabbing before. That was never gonna kill him or anything like that. This is a second Yandere moment.
And both have been with a Pokemon character.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Continuing on with what I was saying, he sees what his anger is doing. Andrew throws him the cure, and he stabs into the Green Goblin. Also notable. Green Goblin showed up like in a moment where Michelle was about to like fall to her death, and then stopped Peter earlier from saving her.
Oh yeah.
Only for her to be rescued by Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that was a moment of redemption for
failing to save Gwen.
Yeah.
Like basically preventing Peter from having to deal with the same loss that he had to do.
Yeah.
And more importantly. Like you could see how much saving her like affected him. Because like he asked her like if she's okay. Only for her like, no, are you okay? Because like you're breaking down, man. And she didn't say all that, but like yeah, he was crying.
Yeah.
And so after they managed to save all the villains from themselves. They have to like do something about the fact that like the multiverse is breaking in.
Yeah. So then Tom Holland finally decides to make everyone forget about Peter Parker.
Yeah.
As if that hasn't worked enough. Alright.
And it happens.
Yeah, everyone goes back home. I doubt that's the last we'll see of, like, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the MCU, though. I just have this feeling they'll show up in future.
They'll probably show up in Into the Spider-Verse, too.
I mean, there's rumors floating around that Tobey Maguire is going to appear in Doctor Strange 2. Which, I guess would make sense because it's being directed by Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
So, like, what happens after the spell goes through is everyone forgets about the existence of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So much so that, like, when he attempts to follow through with Michelle's, like, want of, like, him to, like, seek around and, like, try and reconnect after all this is said and done, he realizes just how safe their lives are now that he's no longer a part of it. And he decides that, like, the best thing to do for them is to not reconnect with them at all.
Yeah.
Deciding that to, like, not attempt to, like, tell them who he is and what they are or anything like that. And to just go back home.
Yeah.
With his, but, like, before that he visits Aunt May's, like,
grave.
Yeah. Encounters Happy, like, they talk and, like, and Happy even asks him how he knew her, like, through Spider-Man. And Happy's like, the same. Because, here's the thing. Everyone's forgotten who Peter Parker is. No one has forgotten who
Spider-Man is.
Or any of his actions. Yeah. So, in their eyes, Spider-Man has like, existed and done everything that Peter has done so far. But at no moment has any of the other MCU characters actually seen who he is under the mask.
Yeah.
So basically, Tony never knew who Spider-Man is. He just kind of decided that to, like, help Spider-Man out and all that. Like, all this is kind of set in stone. The entirety of, like, everything he's done in the MCU is set. But no one has ever seen who Spider-Man is under the mask in this world.
Yeah.
And another downside of this is that he's basically lost all identification. He has to get a GED because he's no longer in high school. He's basically no longer a legal citizen or anything like that. And he's now living alone in an apartment that's oddly reminiscent of both the apartment in Spider-Man 2 and the apartment in Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah, and then he crafts a new Spider-Man suit.
Which, let's be honest here, is almost certainly using the original Spider-Man suit, like, Homecoming Spider-Man suit's, like, mask.
Yeah.
Because they are not going to get rid of the moving eyes. They're not.
They won't.
If only just because of the fact that the moving eyes was easily the best way to like, have him show off his emotions. Because that has kind of been one of the biggest issues with the other two Spider-Men, and that's the fact that it's really hard for them to emote with their faces because of the fact that they can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're almost certainly keeping the original mask, but the rest of the costume is straight up a handmade costume based off of the designs that he's seen from his multiversal counterparts.
Yeah.
And then he swings out, like, into the winter, basically just going on to become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which has led to a lot of speculation as to how things are going to go.
You know,
especially with the fact that the director of the three home films
is also directing the Fantastic Four movie in the
MCU. And Spider-Man has a very close history with the Fantastic Four, so it's up in the air if they're going to be interacting, and just how close Peter's going to be with Johnny Storm, because Johnny is basically Peter's best friend in comics.
Yeah. You know, when I was watching that last scene, I thought of, like, that made me think of Spider-Verse, because that you know, swinging around.
This is literally live action Spider-Verse, so of course it's going to make you think of Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and then there was two post-credit scenes. One had Venom from the Sony's Venom movies, which I was right about having.
A lot of people are questioning how he came in here, even though he doesn't know who Peter Parker is.
Well, if any of you watched Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which if you didn't, don't.
It's confirmed, and it's actually kind of already been a thing in the comics that the symbiotes basically have a multiversal hive mind.
Yeah.
So the fact that any version of Venom at all knows who Peter Parker is, which is most of them, since almost every version of Venom has been like a black suit for Spider-Man at this point.
That was mentioned also at the end of Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah. With the fact that the symbiote himself knew who Peter was, like, oh, it's this guy.
Yeah. And then once he gets sent back home, he leaves a piece of the symbiote behind,
showing that the black suit is almost certainly going to become a thing.
Are we going to get emo Tom Holland in that case?
I don't think so. But you want to know what would be a really great idea?
Why?
Using this opportunity to bring in Black Cat.
Oh, yeah.
Because the entire thing about the relationship in the comics is that Black Cat, it kind of symbolizes the decision to spend the decision to like have Spider-Man be an actual part of his life. Yeah. By that I mean, Black Cat and Felicia Hardy are supposedly separate identities, but in reality, no matter what, like in her own eyes, she's basically the same person.
Yeah. She
doesn't really separate them, and that's kind of the whole point of her relationship with Peter. Like, she's basically there to tell him, "Hey, being Spider-Man is fucking awesome. Why don't you have more fun with this?"
Well,
and right now, Peter would have like the most motivation to shirk off being Peter Parker, since Peter Parker is nobody right now.
Yeah. So just some random guy on the street you'll run across.
Yeah, it's like, if there was ever a time to introduce the character who basically represents the idea of spending most of your time as Spider-Man and saying "fuck Peter Parker," it's now.
Yeah.
When Peter is at his lowest, and he has no identity outside of Spider-Man or Worf at this point.
Yeah. And then, like, as you
the other post-credit sequence
was a full trailer for Doctor Strange 2,
which
has since been released online, so you can view it right now on YouTube. But to those who saw Spider-Man within like the first week, there you go.
Yeah.
Early access to the trailer. It looks. My theory is that my theory going around about that movie is that they're going to introduce. That's how they're going to introduce Deadpool to the MCU. Because multiverse shit, they're going to have Ryan Reynolds come back.
Actually, I'd say that's how they're going to introduce the entirety of the X-Men, because they own all of them now.
Oh. But are they going to bring back the rest of the X-Men actors?
No. Like, I think some of them are going to come back, but almost certainly most of them aren't.
Yeah.
Especially Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman's definitely not coming back.
He wants nothing to do with Wolverine at this point.
I know he said he would come back if it was introduced in the MCU, but I don't think he's going to come back.
I think the idea is that he doesn't want to have to carry the X-Men films anymore.
Yeah.
But essentially, chances are they might bring back the actors, but they're going to be completely different versions of the characters.
Yeah.
Especially since most of these are going to be, like, almost certainly be if they're going to be integrated into the MCU, kind of like the Fantastic Four are.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, they're almost certainly going to be different versions of, like, they're going to be completely different. Especially since the Spider-Man films have all taken so much from the Ultimate Comics. I hope they don't take many things about the Ultimate Comics. But one of the cool things about the Ultimate Comics is that Spider-Man actually did have like a revolving cast of like friends at near the end of his life, right?
Yeah.
And like basically he essentially had like a group of super friends that could just hang around and like straight up lived with him.
Yeah.
And those friends included Johnny Storm and Bobby Drake. And hell, he even did Kitty Pryde.
Wow.
So there are characters in the X-Men franchise who, through the Ultimate Comics, have like very close connections to Spider-Man at this point.
Yeah. Well, we found one.
And considering how like how much they crib off the Ultimate Comics, this would be a good way to reintroduce that concept.
Yeah.
Like, he needs new friends since he's lost all of his old ones. How about like have most of his new friends be super characters?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And like, what better super characters to use than the characters that already have established like friendships with him in comics through one of the universes that you use the most?
Yeah. So yeah, the MCU is going to be pretty wild from here on out. If you haven't tell.
Especially since they've gotten most of the characters that were back in the 2000s. Essentially, they're frontliners.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think the only ones that they don't have fully back now are Hulk and Spider-Man, and that's because they're sharing them now.
I mean, I know the Hulk film rights are held by Universal.
But, like, friggin' Universal's idea of sharing it is basically, yeah, you can use them as much as you want, you just can't give them a solo film.
well, he got the spotlight in Thor Ragnarok.
He's basically just the MCU's way of, like, saying, we need another hero on this. Throw Hulk in there. We can use him as much as we want.
Yeah. And, Sony and Disney are currently sharing their film rights to Spider-Man. And, they have said they promised that negotiations between the two are not going to break down again, as what happened after...
I think the idea is that they're probably going to follow through with what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what? Maybe we don't need Tom Holland to be the Spider-Man of our cinematic stuff. We can always just bring back Andrew Garfield, considering how well he did recently.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole movement now to make it Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Specifically, integrate into Sony's little universe they're doing with the Venom movies.
Which would be a smart idea, because, like, since we now know that, like, all that stuff is in another universe, especially because, like, multiverse shit. Yeah. Like, that, Morbius, like, trailer having a
murderer.
Like, having an image of Spider-Man with, like, tagged with murder doesn't make sense. Unless it follows Andrew Garfield's, like, specific Spider-Man, who has been confirmed to have gone a darker route and has lost control in the past.
Yeah.
You know, someone who almost certainly could have accidentally killed someone in the past now.
Yeah.
It'd be a smart idea.
True. That is true.
Especially since the Amazing Spider-Man films have always been kind of the grittier Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
Like, they've always been the more realistic ones, the darker ones. Yeah. So they fit perfectly with, like, the Morbius and Venom stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Venom 2 was more so stupid than gritty.
Yeah, but it's also these are also, like, the Spider-Man films that are all rated M.
Yeah. Rated M.
I'm not talking like the Amazing Spider-Man stuff, but I'm talking like the Venom and Morbius stuff. They're all the stuff that, like, the guys are regularly killing shit.
Yeah. Also, M rating is for video games. It's R rating.
Yeah, you see, yeah.
Right.
You know what I meant.
Alright, Junko's gone, we can party. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like, chances are they're probably going to go through that idea now because, let's be honest here, it easily makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have the sheer amount of money of the Tom Holland films, and you can have a Spider-Man in your own cinematic universe. You just have to bring back the one who kind of had a bad case of bad writing. Like, just have better writers and you should be fine.
Say what you want about the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the writing was kinda... yeah.
Yeah.
We're done.
The best writing on those films was the chemistry between Andrew and Emma.
Yeah.
And that got ruined by the fact that they killed her off. What now, bitches?
Put him in the MCU. Okay, I've actually been pulling in. I gotta use the bathroom.
Seriously, this is very much a case of you kind of shot yourself in the foot by deciding to follow through with the night when Stacy died. Had they just held up on killing her off, they could have just made her a live-action Spider-Gwen, really.
True.
They would have basically saved their own asses.